Voice in heaven says, who will go for me? Silence in the room, but the fire chose me. I heard a call through the noise of the sea. Whom shall I send? Lord, send me.
Next thing you know, we heard some shots, pow, pow, pow. And then somebody said, "Oh, my God, caught slipping." So I remember I grabbed the shotgun at that time, hopped that gate, ran down the street, no shirt, shotgun in hand, everything. And I seen a car taking off. I didn't even know if that was a car, bro. I started shooting at the car. I loaded the whole shotgun at that car, and I looked to the block, and there was the homie's car with the door open. And I was like, oh, I'm like, they got him. So I ran over there, shotgun still in hand, and I seen him. He was already like, because they shot him in the stomach, they shot him in the heart and the neck. And so he was like literally drowning in his own blood. And I was like, no. I was like, so I ran back.
Did you feel like anger?
Yeah, I felt anger. I ran back. But I had to stash the shotgun and everything because the cops, I knew the cops were gonna come and I didn't want to get locked up. So, but that was one occasion right there. And
That didn't like. What kind of like effect did that have on you? It wasn't like I need to get right, or was it like
no, that
Was it just revenge, or just?
I was sad at the moment because even though like they're not family and stuff, but you kick it together, like you create this. It's almost like this emotional tie to where like, oh, this is my road dog and everything. I got love for this dude, and it creates that tie. So I was sad and I was angry at the same time.
How old was he?
He was like, I think he was probably like 23.
young?
He was 23, yeah, at that time, and yeah, so I didn't even think about that, bro. It was just like, to me, like everything I had learned from the church, it was like I was starting to forget it, and it was almost like we'll go visit the cemetery, like the homie's right there, and the homie's right there, and something I remember one time I got shot at, when I got shot in the leg. I got shot at the whole clip, and they only hit me once in the leg. And I know it was the Lord now because he told me, he's like, I delivered you from death. But I gave credit to the dead homie. Oh, it was the dead homie Suge that protected me. And yeah. And I remember at that time, I went to my dad's house at that time. And then I think I was staying in the little room in the back. He had a little room in the back, and I was staying there. And I told her, I told your
I remember
mom.
that room. You had a poster of Chucky.
I did. Oh my goodness. Well, anyways, I told your mom, like, I'm gonna go visit the homie in the Panteon, and she was like, he's not there. And I kind of got mad. I was like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I'm gonna go anyways. And so and I remember those words though. Your mom said, he's not there. And I kept thinking about that, and I was like, yeah, I could try to deceive myself into thinking that the homie's right there. He's resting, he's running around with all these dead people doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
But the reality was that he was probably in hell. Like, and I tried to purposely get that out of my mind, and I kept getting high and stuff, so that helped to get it out of my mind, not think about the reality of things, Yeah, but back to juvie. I got out of juvenile camp. I jumped in the car. My dad chased me down that one time. He finally caught up to us because we're all super stoned already, super high. Couldn't drive no more, so he finally pulled up, and I was like, oh. And I told the homies, I'm out, bro. And so they were like, all right. So my dad took me back to his house, all the way to the west side, and he gave me a long speech that I don't remember not a single word because I was high, and it was torture to me just to sit there because all I wanted to do was lay down and go to sleep.
Yeah.
And but that right there caused me to get a dirty UA, and they sent me right back to juvenile camp. Within a week, I was back.
Dang.
Oh wow.
Yeah, within
That
a
was
week.
the first day you got out.
Yeah.
And then you
A week
tested
later, I was
dirty.
back. Yep.
Dang.
It was a PV. A week later, I was back, and they sent me straight back to camp. They were like, man, like, he was like, you got skinnier. He was like, you were bigger. He was like, you were bigger. You got skinny. You lost everything in 1 week. And then it was like, they were like, hey, but you at least got high. At least you got out and take a hit, because they're in there, and all they're thinking about is, man, I can't wait to get out and take a hit, and get locked out, or with the girlfriend and everything. But mostly it's the drugs. Yeah. You're like, I can't get out. I can't wait to get out and get high. That's like the thing over there. Yeah, it's a super strong on all the young generations, drugs, like from a young generation. And drugs are like doorways for everything else. So the years went on, and I moved over here to Oregon, and I ended up going to prison here for a party that got out of hand. I ended up going to prison. They gave me 10 years. At first, when I first got locked up, it's like when this first thing happened, I felt so trapped because I thought I had killed these dudes, and I was like, that's it. Like, my life is over. So as I was running or hiding, I asked God, like, help me. And then I didn't hear nothing from heaven or nothing. But one of the family members, I think it was La Güera, she had a dream that Sonia came over to her asking for help about me because I had done something. And it happened just like that. And Sonia called her asking for help. What should we do? What should we do? Or whatever. I ended up turning myself in that one time. And in my mind, it's like, okay, God, I turned myself in. Let me out. I don't know. It was just a messed up way of thinking.
You did a good
deed,
thing.
I did a good thing. Now let me out.
Yeah.
And when I seen that I wasn't let out and I was given 120 months, my heart hardened again. And I was like, well, I don't want anything to do with God anymore. Like the Bible, Jesus, God, nah. And so I started getting into the prison lifestyle and the whole prison politics and how everything runs in there and just doing my time. So, and I remember every time I used to call, they always used to talk to me about the Lord, this, Lord, and I was like, oh my God, like I just need some money. Yeah. Like, I have to listen to this. Okay, okay, whatever. But I didn't care about Jesus. To me, Jesus, I didn't even know what to think about Jesus. To me, Jesus wasn't God. It was just a story written in a book called the Bible. That's all Jesus was to me. It wasn't a real person. It wasn't that is a reality or whatever. I had never had that. It's a real thing. Although I did encounter that darkness. Yeah. So that darkness for me was real because I had encountered it. But I had never encountered an angel or Jesus. So at least that I can see physically. So to me, it wasn't like, it's not really real. It's a religion,
That's just what it is like to a lot of people.
It's a boring religion that you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't. The religion with a bunch of you can'ts, and that's what I thought it was.
That's what amazes me about this is like it's the only thing that requires faith. Like it requires you to believe. And that's all it requires. It's just a belief. And to a lot of people, it's almost like it can't be that simple to a lot of people. Like, that's it, but it's that hard. It's like, because you can say you believe, but you don't really believe, like it requires a belief. Like, and that's kind of really all God wants is just believe. Just believe. And I will do the rest. Like, just... show you. Like, just like all I want from you is to believe. And that's why I think a lot of people encounter Jesus when they're at their lowest because it's like they have nothing else but to just believe that this, all right, I'm gonna believe that you can do something. And it's not that like, oh, this is the moment that I want to use. Is that God's like, all right, finally you got something in you that you believe. Which is, to me, is what gets me, is like, it shows me kind of like how even like, you know, the smartest scientists, the smartest people that read the whole Bible back front to back multiple times, they still can't seem to make anything of it. And it's because like, it's like you guys don't have belief. It's almost like it's a mystery there, you know. It's like you're making yourself, you're a fool no matter, with all your little knowledge. Like, it's something as simple as believe, but they're so smart that they don't believe. They're reading it as a storybook, and they don't get that revelation, they don't get that life changing, they don't get that thing that we've all gotten, that change that we've gotten.
And that's all it was to you, just it's a story in the Bible.
That's all it was, and it was a boring one at that. To me, it was like the same as Catholics. You know, you put your holy water when you first go in. I know that because when I used to go, I used to go see my mom on the weekends. There was a few times that she took me to mass, Catholic mass, and that's what it. Oh, agarra agua bendita, échate aquí en la frente, una cruz, and she'll do the bendición, you know, and it was boring, you know. It was boring, and that's how church was to me. Like, it was boring to me. Like, it had nothing that at least sparked a little bit of attention from the church that we used to go to. And that's how it was. I did 6 years like that. On my 7th year, there was a riot in prison. It was a bunch of people involved, like about 150 people. National Guard came and everything, and so I ended up in the hole at one time with all these other people. And when you're in prison in the hole, you're in the tier, and it's almost like single man cells. And we have conversations about a lot of stuff. We challenge each other's knowledge, what you've learned in there and through your whole life. And I remember this one time they started talking about how do you think everything came into existence? And some people, oh, the Big Bang, you know, the Big Bang in the beginning, and all that stuff. And growing up, I always knew the verse, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. So to me, it's like that stuck. Yeah. And even though I didn't really believe it, I was like, no, I believe that God made everything in the beginning. And so, and I only say that because as a kid, like, that's what I learned. And I learned that as a kid, not as a youth and as growing up, as a kid. And then they were like, yeah, I believe God made everything. And then one of the other guys was like, well, if God made everything, then who made God? And at the moment, I was like, I don't know. Like, that's a good question. Yeah. Like, who made God? Like, everything has a beginning, including God. That's what I thought. I didn't know at that moment that God was the creator of time, space, and matter. So as a creator of these things, he's outside of it. He's not bound by time or space or matter. He's outside of it.
Beginning and the end.
Yes, he's the beginning and the end. And I didn't know that because I didn't read the Bible, you know. I didn't know that. So I was like, man, I just stood quiet. And then the other guy was like, I believe that we are gods. And to me, 'cause I've heard that before, but to me, that was so like, this is so stupid. Like, you're in prison behind bars in the hole. And you think you're a god? Like, you think you're a god? A god's supposed to be powerful. A god's supposed to do stuff that the most strongest person in the world can't do. And so I told him, I was like, what? I was like, you think you're God? I was like, why don't you get out of prison right now, God? I was like, why don't you get out of the hole right now, God? I was like, you ain't God, you're a clown. And so that conversation ended right there. And then I had some weed on me. I rolled up a joint, sparked up a joint. But from there, I was moved into another prison in Umatilla. And then it was another single man cell. That prison sucked. The whole sucked because it's like literally you're surrounded by concrete and you only have like a 2 2-inch slabs of window in your metal door. And yeah, and then they feed you not enough food, so you're always starving in there. You're always hungry. They sent me there. I was like, no, again. I was like, no, again. And but they gave me the tote, and in the tote, you know, it had the pillowcase, the pillow, roll of toilet paper, some paper, like about 5 envelopes, a little flimsy pin, a little rubber cup, a rubber spoon, and 2 books. And lo and behold, there were Christian books in there. Yeah, couldn't give me any book before because I started reading when I got to prison. I started reading fantasy books. I started reading horror books. Stephen King's. They were like my favorite. Like all this bloody stuff, demonic stuff. I was loving that, and then I started reading fantasy books and conspiracy theory books but nothing godly. Like that was not even an option for me. But they started one of the books was called one of the books that they gave me is called A Purpose Driven Life, and I remember that book because JoJo had sent me that book one time. I just never read it because I was like, I gotta read this. What the heck is this? Like, and so I just had it there in my property. But I read it just because I remember JoJo sent it to me. I'm like, I'm gonna see what this says. So I read it, and then the other book that I had was called The Bondage Breaker by Dr. Neil T. Anderson. And it had chains being broken. And I remember chains being broken. And I remember that one time when I was a kid in that living room, those chains that I was hearing. And I was like, And literally the book was all about his experiences with liberation. With people that were demonically possessed.
Dang, that's crazy that those are the 2. And this is like books that the prison chooses to give you?
They just threw them in the tote. They were like, it's like the lottery. You grab 2 books, throw them in there. Grab 2 books, throw them in there. Grab 2 books, throw them in there. And those are the ones that I got.
Man.
And literally, I started reading those books. Like, I started having nightmares. And started getting paralysis. Like, when I started reading those books. Like, I could feel, like, it was Single Man 7. I could feel, like, as soon as I started to nod out, these demons, these spirits, I know they're demons now, I could feel their presence come into my cell and, like, get really close to me and paralyze me. And I was like, I didn't even know how to fight against this. And I was like, I'm here by myself. Like, I'm going to die here. And nobody's going to hear nothing. And nobody can help me here. And it was every time I was nodding out while I was reading this book. One of the things that this brother was talking about was, one of the things he was mentioning was a lot of Bible verses. And then I remember I wanted to know if this was true, if this was really in the Bible, like he said. So I remember that I had a Bible in my property from the previous time I was in the hole. And it was this big blue Thomas Nelson New King James Study Bible, and it was pretty heavy. And I got it because I used to throw heavy books in a pillowcase when I was in the hole, and I'll do arms. I'll work out with them, not because I was reading them. And I had it there to work out. That was my heaviest book. Yeah, I'll throw in there and I'll work out with it. But I remember I had that Bible on my property, so I put in a request to get it out at my property, and they had just changed the rule where you could request 1 religious book out of your property to your cell, because previously you couldn't have anything, not even a book, nothing you can have in your cell. So they changed that. They recently changed that rule to where you could get 1 religious book, and I was like, I'm gonna get that Bible, just because I want to see if this guy is saying what's really written right here in the Bible. Like, I want to see.
That was just your like. Your just curiosity.
Yeah,
like
that's what it wasn't that I wanted to read the Bible. No, I wanted to see if he was lying, if he was making stuff up in this book. I wanted to see if it was really in the Bible, and that was it. So I got the Bible and I was checking to see where I knew all the books. When I was a kid, there was a contest that we did at Sunday school for kids, and I won that contest. I memorized all the books of the Bible in Spanish by heart.
Then so
Yeah.
you knew where they were all at.
I knew where they were all, so I was able to find everything quick. And I remember the constants they used to do is, okay, find 1 Peter 3. And bam, whoever finds it pops up and starts reading. And okay, you won.
Bro, it's crazy that like after all the drugs and everything we went through, like was still in there. That was still like
That's stuck. That's stuck.
Yeah.
A lot of things I don't remember. A lot of things I do remember. And so I kept when I got the Bible and started checking, I started like getting paralyzed even more. Like it was more intense. Like I remember I tried reading one time one chapter of the Bible. I couldn't even get 2 sentences and now nod out like top of the Bible and get paralyzed right there. Like yeah. Yeah. And I remember I got to the book, the one section, because I kept reading. I stopped reading the Bible, but I kept reading the book. And there's one section the brother was like, a demon will always be more powerful than a human because they're more powerful. He was like, it's only Jesus, because he defeated them, that has more power and they're subject to him. And therefore, if you have his spirit in you, now you have that authority, because it's Jesus' authority, where you can fight against these demons and defeat them. And so first you have to get Jesus inside of you, get his spirit inside of you in your heart. So he had the prayer, the sinner's prayer right there. So I was like, okay. So I went through that. I went through the prayer and I didn't feel nothing different, nothing. But and it wasn't like with tears and all that stuff. Like I just read it and I accepted it. Like, okay, I'm gonna try this. And I noticed that now it's almost like I didn't instantly start defeating them, but now I could sense as soon as they stepped into the cell, and I could wake up before that, or like get it without even rebuking. I'll be on point to where now I could rebuke him in the name of Jesus, and they couldn't paralyze me anymore. Like they could not paralyze me, and I was like, there is power in this.
Oh, amen.
I was like, there's power in this, and that's literally why I became a Christian, because Satan himself made me a Christian.
Yeah.
So literally,
what he was using.
Yeah, he was tormenting me and everything, and I know it was God's plan, like, and that's why I became a Christian, because I was encountering this demonic spiritual power that a human had no power over. But then I encountered I found out that there's another power that's way bigger than any monster or any scary movie, than anything. That the devil himself has way more power, and they're subject to a name, Jesus. And so I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like,
it literally became real.
Yeah, it literally became real.
Wow.
And literally now every story, every testimony that I read in the book of his was like, oh, like I believed every single one. At first I was skeptical of all of them, and now I was like, I believed every single one of them, single one of them. And I started to read the Bible where I didn't know where to read. I was like, what should I read? And I'll just open it and I'll try to read. I'm like, no. And then I started reading from the beginning, from Genesis. Boom, boom, boom. Started reading. Literally, all I used to do during all those days, I was in the hole that time for 192 days, and literally, since from the day I accepted Jesus, which was in the beginning of the 192 days. I started reading the Bible I felt like urgent, like you have to hurry up, read it. Have to hurry up, read this, hurry up. And so literally, I wake up, eat breakfast, and read the Bible until lunch came. Wow. And lunch came, I ate lunch, and I worked out, and I bird bath, because you take a shower with a cup in the toilet, because they only shower you twice a week in the hole.
Yeah.
And literally, as soon as all that, reading again. Dinner came, ate my dinner, kept reading. And it was like that for days, literally for days, reading. Like I felt an urgency, like you have to finish, you have to read this, you're running out of time, like you're running out of time. And I don't know why I felt that, bro. And I gotta say this too, during that whole time, I had some weed on me. I was a pothead in prison too.
Were you still smoking?
I was still
doing this?
smoking.
Yeah.
But I wasn't smoking at that particular prison because it was almost impossible. And the OSP, it was simple as heck. You can have people, you can pay the plumbers, the workers to come and bring you a lighter, bring you weed and stuff, and you could smoke in there. But in this prison, it was different. It was in Umatilla. So the whole time I had some weed, I had like a gram, but it was like about a thumb right there, and I'll hide it in my mouth during the time. Every time, like I was reading, I had that in my mouth the whole time. Yeah, and I only take it out and hide it when it was time to eat. And during the whole time, every time I took it out, I felt like there's something.
What was it, like
there.
wrapped in something? Like
it was in saran wrap.
Oh, saran.
Yeah,
wrap.
bunch. It was in balloon and then saran wrap, and then the whole time, every time I used to bring it out, because I used to kind of taste it still, like it would kind of like bleed through. I used to take it out and hide it, and I used to feel something like this not right. It's not right. And days went by. I was still reading the Bible. Yeah. I didn't know what that was. Days went by until finally I felt that so much where I was like, okay, God. Now, I was talking to God now, like if he was right there, you know. Okay, God. I was like, I'm not gonna smoke it. I'm just gonna sell it. And I thought I was good. I thought God was like, all right, you know. I thought it was good because I'm no longer gonna self-destruct. Now I'm gonna provide others with self-destruction. And but I didn't see it like that at the time. And it's crazy because I think about it now. At that moment, I thought I was like the best Christian ever. Like he don't smoke weed, he just sells it. Oh, that's cool, you know. And but I know, but at the time I didn't. My mind wasn't like that, and then I kept feeling that, I kept feeling that, like it's not enough, like no, it's not enough, and then finally I was like, because the conviction that I was feeling was crazy, like I can't even explain it, and then I was like, okay, God, I'm not gonna smoke it, and I'm not gonna sell it, I'm gonna give it away to somebody. I was like, I'm gonna bless somebody because it was so hard to get drugs in that prison. it was so hard to get drugs in that prison. I thought that if I bless somebody, I'm the best man ever. Like, here, man, I'll hook you up. Like, oh, thanks, bro. Like, man, you're a good man. And that's just my mind. It was like my mind had to be literally. It was like stages. I think that had to be like taking off this one stage. Now take off this one stage. Now take off this one stage.
Well, I think that's also where I could kind of see the scripture come to life. It's like, draw near to me and I'll draw near to you. It's almost like you were having a conversation with God. Like, it's almost like he was just like, you weren't like audibly hearing his voice, but it's like that conviction was like, okay, I'm not gonna smoke it. But it's almost like he was telling you, nah, that's not what I want you to do, Yeah. So it's like, man,
without hearing his voice audibly,
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I was reading the Bible this whole time, and I wasn't feeling like a hypocrite at all. Like while I was reading, I kept feeling that conviction as the days went on, and then finally we're like, all right, God, like I'm not gonna smoke it, I'm not gonna sell it, I'm not gonna give it away. I remember I grabbed it and I looked at it and I threw it in the toilet and then flushed it. And then I was like, well, I felt dumb. But I also didn't feel that conviction anymore. So, but I kept reading the Bible and I remember I had a dream. I think I wrote a letter to you guys. I had a dream while I was reading. I think I was like in beginning the New Testament. And in that dream, we were in the house in LA in 4th Ave. And I remember seeing you, but you were a kid. Like you're not a kid, but you were kind of like, I don't know, like up here somewhere, like Isaiah, around there. And then we're in the backyard, and then I looked up, and I seen the moon. It was gigantic. It was huge. Like it was so close, and it put fear on me. And then I was like, Josh, let's pray. I was like, let's pray for God, like for deliverance. I don't even know what deliverance was, like for deliverance. And so we got down right there in the grass, and we started praying, oh God, deliver us, deliver us. And then we stopped, and then we look up, and there wasn't one moon. It was three gigantic moons. Like it was 1, 2, 3 gigantic moons. And I was like, what? This time it still felt fearful, but I just didn't know what to make of it. And I was like, what? And you weren't there when I got up that second time with the 3 moons. You weren't there anymore. And then I look towards where the house was, the little balcony thing where the house was, and I seen this big cloud, and the cloud had light on the inside, like it was shining, and the cloud looked alive, like it was alive, like it was moving. And the cloud, it was nighttime. The cloud was coming like this, and it was just getting bigger as it came. And there was a gigantic golden crown on top of the cloud, and there was a cross engraved on it. Oh wow! Yeah, and I seen it coming like this, and in my dream, I was just like, I heard that Jesus is coming back, but I don't know what to make of it. I look back towards the back, and then I see my dad barbecuing. I don't know what that had anything to do with it, but I see my dad barbecuing, and I looked up and I seen another moon, but this moon felt peaceful. It was like a peaceful moon, and it was hanging on a silver chain, like just one chain hanging on, but it felt like it just felt peaceful. Nothing like the first moon. It just felt really, really, really peaceful. And I woke up. I didn't know what to make of it. I kept reading. Finally got to Revelation 14:14, I think. And it says, I'm going to read it real quick.
Yeah.
Just real quick.
Damn, bro, that's crazy. Revelation 14:14.
So you read your way to Revelation.
The whole Bible. I read the whole Bible from beginning to end in those 192 days. And we were there longer because there was a chickenpox outbreak at the OSP where I was supposed to be sent back to. And so they wouldn't let anybody back in transport because they wanted to contain the virus, because it's a more dangerous thing once you're an adult. Like you can actually die from it.
Yeah.
So in Revelation 14:14, it says, then I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and on the cloud sat one like the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And so I read that, and I was stunned. I was like, I don't know. I made a connection from my dream to that.
You had this dream before you read that.
Yeah, I was like beginning the New Testament, like barely in the Gospels, and I didn't know what to make of that. I didn't know Jesus was coming on a cloud. I didn't know he's gonna have a golden crown on his head. I didn't know none of that. Like I didn't know none of that. I didn't know. And then when I read this, I was like, that was his second coming. This is literally the gathering together of the saints. It says, and in his hand a sharp sickle. He's reaping. He's reaping the earth. So yeah, it just from there it's like I kept reading, and there was one moment. There was one instance where I knew God was happy with me, and it was in there, because at first I didn't know that. All I knew is that there was power in the name of Jesus, and I kind of talked to God, and I wouldn't feel like a response, anything. But there was one time that there was everybody in the tears, like. There's these guys that used to stay up late and talk and wouldn't let anybody else sleep. And then when the morning came, it's almost like the other guys would wake up and these guys would get mad because there's too much noise and everything. So they wanted to get back at each other. And then one night it just blew up. It just you're like I started disrespecting each other, like calling black dudes the N word, the whites and the blacks and the whites, the natives. Where everybody was like the paisas, everybody was disrespecting each other, disrespecting. I was just listening. I was like, this sounds like a bunch of riots. As soon as these people get out of the hole, like they're gonna start some riots. And I was like, and then I was just listening, and then the one of the guys next to me, he was black to them. They used to call him Gutter, and I told him, hey Gutter, hey what's up? Let me tell you, let me talk to you, let me talk to you. He like, you know why all this stuff's going on? He like, it's because, and I told him, you guys stay up talking. He was like, and you don't want to sleep. And then when you guys wake up, these guys want to wake up and get back at you, so they make the noise on purpose, so they won't let you sleep. So it goes back and forth. And he was like, we have to respect the 10 of 10. And I didn't even talk about Jesus or God or nothing. I told him we have to respect these rules that prisoners themselves made. Respect the 10 of 10. From 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. there's no noise. Yeah. Or if you're gonna talk, at a bare minimum. Yeah, and that has to be respected made by the prisoners for the prisoners. And then he stood quiet. Everybody stood quiet because everybody heard what I said. Stood quiet. And he was like, you're right. And he was like, hey. They were talking smack to each other. Hey, what doing? I'm sorry, man. And everybody started apologizing. He was like, oh man, I'm sorry too. I'll call you this. I'm sorry, man. They were like, the whole team started apologizing to each other, bro.
Blessed are the peacemakers.
Yeah, that verse came to my mind, but when I didn't even say nothing about God or Jesus or you even have to obey me or nothing, or everybody started apologizing to each other, and at that moment I felt it's almost like if you could put a smile in the form of warmth and light, but it's a smile.
Yeah.
And I felt that from God. Like literally I literally felt God smile. Wow. Like literally like, that's my boy. Yeah. Like, and I didn't even mention his name or nothing. And it's only because I said this and it caused peace in there. It nullified the whole plan that the devil had with all this. It was instantly canceled. And I felt that, like I could say that I could felt God smile at me, like I felt like a warm light, like when the sun ray hits you. It's been cold, and then suddenly the sun ray hits you, and you could feel the warmth hit you. Yeah. But that warmth was also a smile. I don't know if you could imagine that, but it was a smile, and it was warm, and it was a light, and I knew that it was God smiling, like that's right.
Yeah. I think that's the evidence of the Spirit of God right there, because like many times you don't have to actually mention the scripture or mention his name, but obviously what's in you, just like that's the evidence of it, and obviously it's like, you're going against the enemy's plan of making this obviously war and fight and riot or whatever with just a simple thing of like, hey, you just gotta respect his rules, like peacemaker, and then it's like everything just, man, that's awesome.
Oh, and when I saw that book and the chains being broken, that came to my mind. I already told you that, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so it was like, now I see that it was, okay, you were bound at this time, but I set you free when you were physically bound. Like, it's almost like when you were physically free, you were spiritually bound. Ooh. But I set you spiritually free when you were physically bound. Wow. And literally I felt, when I was those last 3 years of my sentence, I felt free. I'm gonna say that I did backslide into weed again once, and it was like in my mind it was just excuses. As soon as I got out of the hole, the homies, they knew it was a problem. Like here. At first I was like, nah, I don't smoke no more. But then I started needing hygiene. I started needing stuff. A little bit of food in the cell. I started needing that. I needed envelopes right there. I needed all this stuff. And because of the need, that was like, here. It was like, here. And I finally accepted it. And I started selling weed again. And eventually, I smoked weed. And this happened within like 2 months. And then I was smoking weed again. And you know what's crazy? That I had a book sent in. It was called A Divine Revelation from Hell, by Mary Kay Baxter. And literally I started reading that book. That book would trip me out. And then I'll go and I'll smoke a little joint and I read that book. And I don't know why. It's just like I was reading this book while I was high, and I was reading about all the torments in hell and how hell was, and I was like, and eventually it took God moving me from that prison to another prison way out there in the desert in Ontario, next to Boise, Idaho, to where I can start fresh. And sure enough, the enemy came. He was like, "Here, I got some crystal, I got some this, so we can make some money." And finally, I was like, "Nah, I'm okay. I'm done. Like, nope, I don't want nothing. Like, I don't want nothing."
Dang, that's wild, bro. Because it's like, I've experienced that in my own life, where it's like, that moment where you're on fire for the Lord is using you, the Lord is doing something in you, and there's a change in your environment for the bad, like for the worse, and God almost moves you out of that environment, like move pieces around without you like only God could do it, because they're like super, like it's a supernatural thing. It's like something, like a lot of events happen that no human can control, that
Yep.
ends up moving you out of those situations and back to where you were. Like,
Yeah.
that's happened to me too. So it's
Yeah.
that's crazy that like it goes to show you that we have someone that fights for us. It's like God seeing, like, you clearly couldn't fight for yourself. Like, we have these things that like humanly will fall into temptation and we can't get out of them. And it's almost like those are the moments where, even in those moments where like God's not doing nothing, God's not helping something, like he fights for us in those sense. It's not like, all right, I'm gonna take the desire of smoking out of you. It's like, but I'm gonna move you in a place where you can once again start fresh and have another like say at it. Like, man, that's,
Yeah. And it was another riot that happened in that prison. That
in Ontario.
Yeah, in Ontario, and they needed to like move people around, and they ended up moving me. Um, and it was God, man. It was God, because even the address of that prison was 777 Stanton Boulevard.
Oh,
So,
I remember.
yeah,
Right,
it's
that.
I
777.
still have all the letters.
And that's when I really started like I found out about, well, that's when I really started getting more with the Lord, because I found out there's a lot more programs over there, Bible studies, prayers, church services, all that. And uh and I started signing up for a bunch of this stuff. Like, I was literally doing 2 Bible studies a week, 2 prayers, 2 church services, and in a Hebrew class. I wanted to learn the language of the Bible, the Old Testament. I want to learn it, but I kept myself busy like that
You're
the
growing
whole week.
spiritually.
Yeah, and I was getting books too. Like, I was getting books and then, and literally that 3-year period, that anxiety I felt that I had to finish reading the Bible. I felt that, but with a whole bunch of Christian books. Like, I was reading as many books. Like, I read a whole bunch of books, and I had to read this. I had to read it. Why? Because I was running out of time. I'm running out of time. I'm running out of time. I don't know why I felt that. I think
Hey, and
that
in this new prison, like it was all new, like homies and stuff. Like, they didn't really know you for how you were before, or
some people did. Some people did,
did.
because they moved like a bunch of us from this side to that side.
And how
over
was
there.
that? Like, how was that? Like, acceptance, or
Well,
were they like clowning on you? Like, how was that
Well, it was
change?
at that point, I didn't even care. Like, I didn't even care if they had something to say, but nobody really said nothing, because a lot of people had respect for me. Yeah. Um and so, because they had the respect, they respect everything that I did.
They didn't ask you though. Like, they weren't like, what happened? Like.
No, they just they were asking me when I was telling them, because they used to call me Little Sneaky. When I was just telling them, we're like, "Hey, Little Sneaky," like, "Hey, Little Sneaky," and I used to tell them, "Sneaky's dead." I said, "Little Sneaky's dead. I'm Junior. Call me Junior now." And they were like, "Really?" "Yeah, I'll let you call me Junior now. Little Sneaky's dead. Call me Junior." And so okay. Some people kept calling me Sneaky. They were like, I'm just gonna keep calling you Sneaky.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, but call me Junior. And then some of the homies started noticing without me saying anything that I wouldn't curse when I talked. Like I used to curse a lot. And God took that away from me when it was those 192 days that I was doing. When I told Jesus to come into my life, within 1 week I stopped cursing without even trying. Because every time I said a curse word, I feel like something really bad happened, like in the world, like a catastrophe just happened, and like something really serious. And when I used to hear other people, it was like it offended my ears. I was like, oh, I don't want to hear this. And if it, I know this sounds nasty, but I could picture like feces in the air, like stinky, like disgusting in the air. Like every time somebody said a cuss word, like I could see that in the air, and I was like, oh, like this, like you gotta talk like that. Like it was disgusting to me, and I stopped cussing in 1 week without even trying. That's one evidence that I had no control over, that God was changing me. He was changing me. I mean, it hadn't happened like that, like the apostle, like Saul of Tarsus. But he was. I've noticing certain things about me. I was like, huh, because I used to talk like really bad. I used to have real foul language in English. I didn't talk like that around my parents and stuff. But outside with the homies, like I had really foul language, and God took that away in 1 week. So He does. If you give him a chance, if you give God a chance, really, like you really want to give him a chance, because you want to find out if it's real. Like He'll show up,
Yeah.
but not like if you go like, all right, let's see if God's real, but you don't really care if it's real or not. He's not gonna show up for you. But if you give him a chance, He'll show up. He'll show up. He'll do a work in you.
And that reminds me of like, cause you know he did like God Behind Bars, and like he was telling me about like we were talking about the prisoners in there and about how he noticed like just this like fire for the Lord in there and for and how I think you said that somebody was like mentioning to you that like they feel more freer in there than they were outside.
Yeah.
It just kind of reminded me like what you were talking about. It just reminding me of that. And like I think we were talking about that, like, man, it's crazy that like even though they're in bondage, like, you know, in this physical world, like, and they're just more devoted, more like, I don't know how
Kinda more
to
like
say it,
all
like
in for-
more like all in for Jesus,
Yeah.
than people out here are.
Yeah. And I mean, when you're in there, you're like willing to accept whatever consequence. Like this is me now, and if you want to do something to me, well, what do it then. And like you were asking me, what do they think? I signed up for this one class, Creation versus Evolution, and I learned so much in that class about apologetics, so much that if anybody tried to clown on me, I'll challenge them. Like I'll challenge their belief system, and we'll go back and forth, but they could not make a fool out of me, because their arguments sounded foolish. I was like, do you seriously believe this? I was like, think about it. Use your brain. Like, think about it. And so
Was
so
there
so a lot
was
of
there a lot of people in there that like believed in other religions or believed in like
Yeah.
is it just a mixture of everything, or what's
there's
the
Hindus, there's Buddhists, and there's Satanists in there that read the Satanic Bible. There's the one with the Norse gods, like the white people and their
yeah.
Scandinavian gods. There's the Raza and their culture, the Azteca, the Mayan stuff. They're into all that.
Like everything is in
Yeah,
little bit of
it's like
everything.
it's like the devil's playground in there. He plays with people's minds in there.
So
And,
you had a buffet in there, like
yeah, at the beginning, yes. Unless literally there was people like people who just weren't willing to reason, and all they wanted to do is
Almost like pick a fight.
Talk
kinda.
smack. Yeah, like talk smack. Talk smack. Then I wouldn't argue with those people. Because I remember Tim saying, "Don't cast your pearls before the swine, because they're just gonna trample upon them and then turn around and attack you." And so so I just wouldn't. But if they were willing to reason, to talk it out and reason and talk some sense, then I'll talk my sense. And literally, I used to talk to anybody, like, and I was jealous. I was jealous when I used to hear another belief system. I was jealous for the Lord. Like, I had that jealousy. Like, yeah, I was jealous.
Yeah.
Like, I wanted to pick a fight for the Lord. Like, yeah. Yeah, I remember this one time there was this black dude. He was like hecka preaching reincarnation and Hinduism and all that, and I wanted to ask him one question. I was like, if you believe you getting reincarnated for your past wrongs, and you get reincarnated into this to make that wrong right, and I was like, what did you do wrong on your first life that you came into existence for the first place? And he could not answer that question, because they have no answer for that question. They couldn't answer that question. And but I didn't ask him nicely. I was kind of like aggressively asking this, because I was like, I was saying, I was zealous. It's almost like I want to fight. Like, I don't know if Elijah was like that with the prophets of Baal, but I was like almost kind of like that. Like, I'm making fun of his beliefs. And there was a crowd right there gathered around, and it was just me against him, and you had no answers. And so, and
that's crazy. God took you from physically fighting to fighting with your words.
Yeah,
for real.
And it's because I believe 100% that I know the truth. In the Bible, it says, Jesus said, "I am the truth." So there is no truth outside of him. Like, everything else outside of him is a lie, and therefore the lies cannot stand up to the truth. So it don't matter what your argument is. If it's against Jesus, it's gonna fall. Like, it's gonna have no reason. You're gonna lose. So if you have Jesus, you win.
Yeah.
So in every
you
area,
should know the truth, and the truth should set you free.
Bro, what
you should know Jesus, and Jesus is gonna set you free.
yeah.
right. But what do you think would have happened to you if, like, you would have? Well, it couldn't have been, because even at that time the stuff wasn't around. But, like, if you would have, like, came across all prophetic word towards the end times in prison, you would have gotten. I can't even imagine
No sleep. Right.
You would have started calling, asking for so many books and references to, like, what do you think what kind of urgency you think would have hit you with if
if literally we have this many years left?
Yes,
I didn't feel that urgency.
You know,
at that.
what year were you?
I was from 2006 to 2016.
When you were like in reading and
it was
like
2013.
2000, yeah. So like most prophetic events really started taking down in like the 2020, 2019, 2020.
Yeah, like after Trump.
After
Trump, because when I got out, Trump was inaugurated.
Yeah.
And then everything was like tumbling down
things
fast.
started going down fast.
And I used to write some of the brothers, like Tim, he was still in there. I used to write him, bro, like this is coming, and the Lord, and I don't know how they used to feel in there, because I know that there is a law that, and I don't know if they changed it since, but there was a law that if there was to be like a catastrophe or like a military invasion by a foreign country or something, they had to go into prisons and shoot all the prisoners before.
For reals?
Yeah, and shoot the person. If you had like 3 years or more in your sentence, they're gonna shoot you. Yeah, and we all knew that in there.
That law?
Huh?
I didn't know about that law.
Well, we knew about it in there. I mean, and it was like, and I always thought about that. I was like, but while I was in there, bro, it's like I met Tim and other brothers, and I didn't even know Tim was a Christian.
We gotta get Tim on here.
I know, and I didn't even know he was a Christian at that time. And I told him one time, I didn't know you was a Christian. He was like, really? He was like, I'm ashamed. He was like, I'm ashamed. I was like, yes, I've been a Christian for years. I was like, really? And I was like, I thought you were one of those dudes that are just into the Aztec stuff. And I hate that Aztec stuff. Even when I wasn't a Christian, to me, that was like Indio stuff. I'm like, I ain't no freaking Indio, you know? But I never liked that. I never liked that kind of stuff. And he said he always did it for the artwork. And he's a real good artist. He's a really good artist. But like once like I got together with him, we got in the same yard because we were both in OSP, and they sent me over there first, and then they sent him. We met up over there.
Oh, so you already knew him from OSP?
Yeah,
before.
I knew
so
him.
He knew
but
the old you.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, and then he was like in his own thing. He was in charge of the Chicano club where they used to do art and everything. So he was doing his own thing. He was never part of the gang. So he was doing his own thing, but he used to kick it with us.
Oh, okay.
You know, he used to sit with us to eat and work out with us and then hang out with us and everything. He was cool. And yeah, when we got moved over here, I forgot what he seen me praying for my food. I think that one time I prayed for my food in the child, and he was like, "Hey man," I look up, like, "What's up?" We're like, and I was like, "You a Christian?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Oh, I didn't know you was a Christian." Like I was sincere, like I don't know you was a Christian.
Yeah, like you weren't trying to.
And then
like,
he was
bash
like,
on him
"You
or
didn't?"
anything.
He was like, "No." He was like, "I'm ashamed." He's like, "I'm ashamed because you couldn't even tell I was a Christian." And it is a shameful thing. Like, thinking about it, if people out there can't tell you're a Christian, it's a shameful thing. Like how you gonna make it to heaven like that? You know, it's got to be a difference.
Air Jesus.
Yeah. But anything, it was like we used to get together in the yard. I got a little Bible I have, and it was just we became real good brothers in there, as far as like with the Lord and everything, and like
It's kind of like
talking
what
to
we were
other
talking about in
homies.
the beginning, huh?
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, with that brother.
Yeah, it's kind of like we were talking about in the beginning. It's like you need that, bro. Like
And,
everybody needs that.
Yeah.
Everybody needs that one brother. Not saying that like having a whole congregation is bad, but like everybody needs that one person that you're like, this is my friend, and we both sharpen each other
Yeah.
in the word. You know, like everybody needs that.
the Lord has done a lot of things.
Damn.
A lot of things since I allowed him to be part of my life.